It was meant to be a light-hearted evening on the Graham Norton Show, but instead it turned into a thinly veiled takedown of Meghan Markle's latest media venture. Sitting across from fashion mogul Emma Grede, Graham Norton didn't hold back as he dismantled Meghan's so-called empowerment podcast, accusing it of being just another vanity project wrapped in jam jars and self-praise. While the Duchess wasn't in the room, her presence, or rather her reputation, dominated the conversation. It was a rare moment of primetime honesty about a public figure whose media image has become increasingly divided. What started as a conversation about podcasting quickly became a full-on roast, with Norton calling her show Me in audio form. For those unfamiliar, Meghan Markle's latest podcast endeavor, a collaboration with Jamila Kern and supposedly centered around women, culture, and wellness, has drawn criticism for being more about Markle's personal journey and less about its intended themes. Rather than giving a platform to unheard voices or diving into cultural critiques, each episode reportedly circles back to her own struggles with royalty, race, and fame. Even co-host Jamila Kern, a lesser-known but credible activist, has taken a back seat while Markle dominates airtime with repetitive anecdotes of victimhood. Emma Grede, while diplomatic in tone, didn't entirely disagree when Norton sarcastically asked, "Is there ever an episode where Meghan doesn't talk about herself?" The problem, according to critics, and now to Graham Norton, it seems, is that Markle's brand of storytelling often hijacks larger conversations. Her podcast, intended as a space for nuanced dialogue, instead reverts to a monologue of grievances. Whether it's about palace protocol or press invasions, the Duchess positions herself as a misunderstood trailblazer even when the narrative seems disconnected from the voices of the guests she claims to highlight. "It's like tuning in to hear someone talk about a social issue," Norton quipped, "and ending up in a TED Talk about her avocado toast and why the media hates it." And it isn't just Graham Norton who's had enough. Media analysts have pointed out that Meghan's podcast metrics, especially following the hype of the initial episodes, have plummeted. Once heralded as a bold reclamation of the narrative by Spotify and PR strategists alike, the numbers now suggest a steady decline in interest. Listeners are increasingly frustrated by the lack of depth and the over-reliance on Meghan's personal story. As one reviewer put it bluntly, "I came to hear women's voices. All I got was Meghan's echo." Even Emma Grede, known for her involvement in inclusive business ventures like Good American and Schemes, carefully distanced herself from the podcast's tone during her appearance. "Authentic storytelling comes from letting others speak," she said diplomatically, adding, "especially when you have a platform as large as Meghan's." While she didn't directly condemn the Duchess, her remarks, in tandem with Norton's jabs, made clear that the Duchess of Sussex has missed the mark. Graham Norton's critique didn't end with the podcast. He also commented on Meghan's broader media strategy, which he said feels like an endless attempt to rebrand a brand that was never fully formed to begin with. He pointed out that every initiative, whether it's a Netflix documentary, a children's book, or this latest podcast, centers around one consistent theme: Meghan Markle. "You could call it archetypes," he said, referencing her podcast title, "but the only archetype we ever get is Meghan as the misunderstood heroine. And perhaps that's the core of the backlash." While Markle claims to challenge stereotypes and empower marginalized women, her projects consistently circle back to her own narrative. Her story, once compelling and fresh, now feels rehearsed and overexposed. With each new appearance, critics argue she's digging deeper into a persona of martyrdom, one that no longer resonates with audiences seeking substance and sincerity. To make matters worse, the podcast's promotional material reportedly exaggerated guest participation and social themes, leading some insiders to accuse the show's team of using social justice as a marketing tool. While Markle often discusses her desire to give others a voice, actual interviews are sparse, and when they do occur, they're edited in ways that make the Duchess's voice and reactions dominate the final product. That discrepancy was evident when one supposed guest, speaking anonymously to a UK tabloid, claimed that their hour-long conversation was reduced to a 2-minute clip that simply confirmed Meghan's point. "It didn't feel like a discussion," the guest said. "It felt like I was there to validate her agenda." Graham Norton's roast may have felt like comedy, but it was grounded in a growing disillusionment with Meghan Markle's media persona. Once viewed as a modern and inspiring royal, her reputation has shifted toward that of a brand, a carefully curated identity built more on grievance than on grace. Emma Grede's quiet diplomacy only highlighted that contrast further. As someone who has built a reputation by elevating others, Grede's subtle remarks reinforce the idea that true influence comes from stepping aside, not monopolizing the spotlight. In the end, the episode was less about humor and more about a cultural reckoning. Graham Norton gave voice to what many viewers have been whispering for months, that Meghan Markle's media ventures no longer feel like honest attempts at social change, but rather self-serving spectacles thinly disguised as activism. And when Norton closed the segment with a final jab, maybe next time, just call it the Meghan Show and be done with it, even Emma Grede couldn't help but laugh. A laugh that echoed the sentiment of a growing number of people who are no longer buying what Meghan's trying to sell. The fallout from Graham Norton's pointed remarks has reignited the public conversation around Meghan Markle's authenticity, or, as some critics argue, the lack thereof. Social media lit up in the hours after the episode aired, with hashtags like #MeghanMonologue and #Jamgate trending across platforms. Viewers applauded Norton's candor, praising him for articulating what many had been feeling but were hesitant to say, that Meghan's constant self-referencing has overshadowed the voices she claims to uplift. Even fans who once defended her media ventures now question whether she's genuinely interested in advocacy or simply addicted to control over her narrative. What makes this moment particularly significant is that it didn't come from a tabloid or an anonymous source. It came from a beloved mainstream host known more for charm than confrontation. When Graham Norton takes aim, people listen. His critique, sharpened by humor but grounded in observation, delivered a blow more powerful than any front-page headline. It confirmed a shift in public perception. Meghan is no longer seen as the silenced outsider fighting a royal machine. She is now part of the machine, one that appears to revolve solely around herself. And that realization is turning admiration into fatigue.